Welcome to my fight show. Micah Frankel. Happy to be here with you guys again. That time of the weekend. Yeah. That time of the weekend is going to come up where we've got some great fights ahead of us. It's the beginning of the week, and I'm going to start us off in the right direction as it's a huge weekend of fights. We have UFC 323 this Saturday night, closing out the pay-per-view calendar year for the worldwide leader, and the absolute last UFC pay-per-view that we're going to have on ESPN Plus. A whole new broadcasting world coming together in January when everything turns into Paramount. For the very last pay-per-view of this era, myself, I will be out in Las Vegas, part of MMA After Hours with Michael Carlisle, possibly doing some work from ESPN Radio with Mike Adams 2.0. And we're going to be out in Las Vegas for this mega pay-per-view. MMA After Hours, new episode is up already. Huge preview for the card. We get into the depths of it, all the way down into a couple of the early prelims. I am so looking forward to this weekend's action. And me and Michael Carlisle break it all down. Long journey coming up tomorrow to get out to Vegas. Media day, press conference. Looking forward to all of it, especially the crazy fight night. Merab Dvalishvili, at worst, the second greatest bantamweight of all time. I think he's taken the mantle. Greatest bantamweight of all time. And on the other side, you have Alexandre Pantoja defending his flyweight title, quite possibly the second greatest flyweight we've ever seen. Definitely the second greatest flyweight title reign the division has ever encompassed. We get into all of that and much more over at MMA After Hours, plus our reactions to the UFC 230 24 and 225 fight announcements, how we feel about who was given title shots. So me and Michael Carlisle went over all that at MMA After Hours, every Saturday, ESPN Radio 1017, The Team. You can hear the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's Mike Adams 2.0, where we go around the whole wild world of sports. Tomorrow, before we get on the road, before we're hitting those skies, before we are traveling to Vegas, me and Michael Carlisle will be putting out Pro Wrestling After Hours, recapping everything from the Survivor Series. Don't forget, Duke City Toys bringing in Sting for a meet and greet. That's not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. Tickets are available for the meet and greet. I'm a little Stinger. I can't wait for the opportunity to meet the icon, someone that truly made me a fan and had me captivated and continuing to be captivated with the world of professional wrestling. Our friends at Duke City Championship Wrestling will be back at the El Rey Theater one more time before the year ends. We're talking about December 27th. Look forward to a whole night of action. Manny Lemons looking to continue to be a thorn in the side of Full Sail. As for what we're going to do here tonight, we have a huge episode planned. Leonid Grachev, Baby Drago, December 12th, Legacy Boxing Promotions. The Legacy continues too. He's going to be in action against Manuel Eastman in a rematch. It's supposed to be a couple rematches on the card. I think it's down to being the only rematch on the card. We're going to talk to Baby Drago about a rematch and about going down to Mexico to get back into the win column. He's going to be filed up by the one and only Chris Breezy Brown, former LFA welterweight champion, currently the CFFC middleweight champion. And then our final guest of the evening is going to be Logan Paxton. Incredible 9-fight win streak. The one-punch knockout win at APFC 21 just last weekend. So we're going to get to hear from Logan Paxton. So we've got a couple fighters with upcoming dates and one guy going to continue to make noise. Our guest list for this week. The social media is across below. Shout out to the barber, Gabe Bencomo. Guys, if you're looking to get your haircut, your look right, maybe do something new, get fully proper for the holiday season upcoming, Barber Gabe's Fades, Lobo Plaza. It's the northeast corner of Coors and Central intersection here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Always proud to be the work that they do, taking care of the beard, taking care of hair. Feel good, look good. Got a good show in store for you guys. Here in just a couple minutes, first guest is going to be Baby Drago. Before we get to the heavyweight boxer, I did want to take a moment to wish a fond farewell from the combat sports world to the doctor, Giorgio Petrosian. This might be a retirement that I could see sticking. A lot of retirements don't stick. This one, after a prolonged career, still a young man, but I think this retirement is real. Legendary kickboxer, 109 wins, 3 defeats, 2 losses, 2 draws. Petrosian retires, having been the 2009-2010 K1 World Max Tournament winner, the 1 featherweight Grand Prix winner, a Glory Slam Tournament winner, a Waco Pro K1 World Super Welterweight Championship, ISKA Super Welterweight Championship. We're talking about one of the most decorated, well-traveled, was really willing to take on all competition kickboxers, someone that really is a defensive master who then could also put it on you in return. Giorgio Petrosian with a retirement that I feel like is going to stick. It's a huge weekend of combat sports, not just the UFC this weekend. That's why we're here to bring you everything in the world of combat sports, like that Karate Combat 58 is going down Friday night. Free YouTube. Enjoy the karate feel, the old school blood sport feel that you get from those movies. Karate back in representing. It's a heavyweight title fight in the main event. Sam Alvey defends against Robles de Spain. Alvey 3-0 in the company. The last 2 are knockouts. The last one, the mega upset. Who saw it coming when Alvey was able to defeat and stop Tyron Spong? Something I didn't see coming. I don't know if you saw that one coming. And now, after climbing the mountain that was Tyrone Spong, Sam Alvey's next date is going to be with Robles de Spain. We saw that de Spain's ground game was his Achilles heel in MMA. The 6'7" Cuban is a Taekwondo bronze medalist in the Olympics. So far, 6-0 in karate combat with 4 first-round knockouts, awkward angles, low hands. It's going to be interesting. You've seen, if you're following his social media or possibly Poton's, yes, Alex Ferreira, the two were just getting in work at Fusion MMA in Orlando, Florida. This is a different kind of heavyweight. Alvey, I keep saying that each time, though. You feel like he's taking on a different kind of heavyweight. The career resurgence from where he was in the UFC as a fledgling middleweight to turning into a karate heavyweight champion, the resurgence is ridiculous. It's truly going to be a big-time fight here. And I don't think we see the timid Sam Alvey that we saw in the cage anymore. He lets the leather go. He's starting to put together the kicks. He's fully engulfing himself in the sport, and it makes it an interesting fight that probably in some way ends in knockout. Not enough title fight for you? Welterweight title co-main event where Astley 20 wins, 2 losses, a K1 Morocco champion, takes on Honey, 38-12, a kickboxing and Muay Thai world champion. Plus, the UFC vet Chris Barnett, who's been all around the world fighting everybody, is going to be taking on BKFC vet Jonathan Miller. Big one-punch knockout. All of that going on in Karate Combat. Right now, we are still trying to motion towards our first guest. Looks like we're getting a little bit of trouble, Leonid Grachev is saying, with invite. We're going to try one more time with that. So we are efforting. Baby draw right now, everybody. We can get him on. Sorry, everybody. Trying to effort, baby, real quick. That karate card that I'm talking about, Karate Combat 58, this Friday night, live, free, YouTube, ton of big show veterans a part of the card, including oh, here we go, Baby Drago. Well, real quick, while we're getting him in here, that Karate Combat card that I was mentioning, we're going to have the Bellator former middleweight champion Rafael Carvalho on there, Brendan Jenkins, Marcus Perez, Lorenz Larkin, included in names familiar to the combat sports audience. Hey, I think we actually have him. I think we're ready to go. Let's bring in Baby Drago right now.
What's up, brother? How are you doing?
Can you, how are we doing this evening?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself? Can you hear me good?
Can hear you good. We've got Leonid Grachev, Baby Drago. You went on the expedition, we'll call this. You go down to Mexico for a fight. I'm pretty sure that there's a story from everything that one encompassed, including what looked to be a very unique setting for the fight.
Yeah, man. I'll talk about it a little bit. As you know, it's been almost 2 years since I had a fight, and I've been trying really hard to get on a card, but it just didn't work out. So finally, I reached out to some people I knew out in Tijuana, and usually the way those fights go is, you have to pay your own way to get out there. And I had to fight for free, so I had to fundraise a lot of money. Big thanks to a lot of my sponsors that helped me out, helped me get out there. It was kind of crazy. They canceled my flight the day before the weigh-in, so I'm scrambling. I had to buy all new tickets for myself and my team, so I'm heading out there. I'm already a few $1,000s in debt because I had to grab the new tickets. Everything was good. We make it out there, we fight, and then an hour before I cross the border to go back, a stray dog bites me and I have to get rabies shots.
A stray dog just ran up on you and took a bite out of Baby Drago.
Just like that, man. Just like that. So, I got home. I had to go back to work to pay off those debts. I had to go to the urgent care it was, and, they brought me a bunch of needles and stuff. They stuck me, gave me whatever the anti-rabies vaccine is. So I was running around doing that. But overall, other than that, good experience.
So you're going to remember this one for a few reasons, I'm gathering.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
what was it like finally getting back in the ring and getting to put some new skills to test and a new fight theory?
Man, it was great. I loved it. It felt amazing being back in the ring. But I have to say this is probably the longest I've ever gone since the start of my fight career without having to fight. Like I said, it's been almost 2 years, and it was tough. Even though I stayed in the gym, I sparred. I never took time off. The fight and sparring are two completely different experiences. So it took me a few rounds to get adjusted, and by the time I did, the fight was over, and thank God everything was good. We dominated the guy, we won, but it's tough being out of the ring for 2 years and then just jumping back in.
Did you think that the ring rust was going to be as present as you felt it?
No, not at all, not at all. Like I said, I've been in the gym these whole 2 years since I didn't have a fight. Um, I never took any time off, but I definitely felt it. It wasn't horrible, but there's some kind of these nerves and you're a little tighter than you want to be and you're trying to shake it back out and you're tight again and you're moving like you're not used to, but it was great. I'm so happy that I was able to get back in there.
Were you able to execute in the manner of aggression and violence that you wanted to? I know that from you there was having to up the that level of violence was going to be an emphasis.
Yeah, there were a lot of things I did good. As every interview you do, every time you ask me about a fight I've had, I'm never fully satisfied with any of my performances. So there's definitely a lot of stuff I could have done better. But in terms of being aggressive and violent, I definitely feel like I did that. I let my right hand go a lot more. Um, the promoter did upload the video somewhere on YouTube. So no, I don't know if you've seen that or not, but I had the guy hurt a few times. I tried to finish him, but he was tough. He kept coming forward. He took some big shots. I think I had him. Like I said, I had him hurt a few times. His nose might have been broken because I talked to him after the fight. He started, swelling up a little bit, but I definitely put my hands on him. And it's, like I said, I'm always looking for the finish. It doesn't always come, but um, I'm glad I was able to get back in there after all this time.
What was the part of the fight though that you felt needed correcting? What did you immediately feel was the next thing that needs to be addressed?
Next thing that needs to be addressed, I guess I'll talk about that fight a little bit. Sometimes it's just the execution, and like I said, I've been out of the ring for 2 years. The coaches tell you one thing, and then you're going in the ring, you're like, oh man, this is really what I need to do. So I need to have a little bit more trust in that. But I want to chalk it up to just being out of the ring for so long and trying to execute in the moment. Other than that, I feel like I stayed on a lot of things that we talked on. So I mean, but like I said, there's always improvement. There's always things I can do better. I can always throw more punches. I can always be stronger and in better shape. And I think that's how it goes with every fighter. I don't think I've ever had a performance in my life that I was truly 100% satisfied with. So that's just the kind of person I am.
How many days off did the dog bite force you to take? Because it doesn't sound like you would have taken any off if you didn't have to.
No, actually, I didn't. After I got my initial shot, so I was going to get the rabies shots in Mexico. We showed up to a clinic that we found online, and they said, "Oh, we don't do them here. You have to go to the hospital." They said, "But if you go to a hospital, you're probably going to be there for 24 hours at least." And our flight was coming up, so we crossed the border on foot, and we were waiting for a long time. Getting into Mexico was easy. You just walk across, they give you a piece of paper, but coming back there's a long line, so we were waiting in line for probably 4 or 5 hours. And the original plan was to get the rabies shots in San Diego, but we're like, dude, we're already cutting it close to the fight as is. So I jumped back on a plane, got back to Albuquerque about 9 p.m. And me and my lady, we just drove to urgent care, and we were we were there until I think 3 in the morning. She was upset because she had to go to work the next day, but I think I took maybe two days off, and then got back in the gym.
Never want to take it easy on yourself. Right away, right back into it. So what
Yeah.
was it an immediate process of now seeking out this fight? You were confident your leg wasn't going to fall off or anything?
um, I got back in the gym, but like I said, I had a lot of credit card debt, so I wasn't training like I wanted to. And I don't know if you heard, and I haven't told a lot of people, so I guess I'll kind of break the news here. I applied for Albuquerque Fire Rescue, and I've so far passed all the interviews, all the entry processes, and the academy actually starts in early January. And so, at the time, one of my friends, he's a firefighter. He said, "Hey, man, this is something you should look into, and the kind of stuff you like to do." And I thought about it and say, "Hey, man, I think that's right up my alley, and I can help a lot of people." And so I applied, and I didn't know whether I was going to get in or not, but I passed the physical test, passed the written test, passed the oral exam, and everything's good. And so at that point, I was like, "Cool, man, I'm going to be a firefighter." And then I got a call from Legacy and said, "Hey, do you want to fight in December?" And at the time, I was still working, getting those credit card debts paid off, and I was like, "You know what? Everything just kind of fits in the right frame, the right time." I'm like, "Yeah, man, let's do it." So yeah, that's kind of where I was at, and I'm so happy that I got the call, and they're keeping me active, and I don't have to wait another 12, 24 months before I fight again.
How big of a concern is that for you that the activity was going to be the hardest thing to kind of preserve?
It was huge. It was huge. As evidenced by the last 2 years that I've been, trying to call and do all these things, and like I said, at that point, I was a little, I guess, what's the word? I was a little down on myself. I was like, I said, man, I just came back from this fight. I owe all this money. Um, and I was like, I want to fight, but I need to take care of these bills. And I'm actually super excited that I got accepted in the academy. I'm really, really looking forward to that. But I'm so ecstatic that everything just worked out with Legacy, with them throwing a card here local, that I don't have to travel to Mexico or go across the country or something like that. So, and I get to fight in front of all my friends, in front of all my fans, and that's just amazing for me.
Was firefighting something that you had ever considered? Was that a thought before your friend starts whispering to you, or was this like a brand new thought, or was it something that had been there before?
A little bit. When I grew up, especially in Russia, I watched a lot of Schwarzenegger movies, a lot of Rambo. So in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna grow up. I'm gonna be a special forces guy. Jump out of planes, kill bad guys. And then come high school, they have all the recruiters, right then and there. But I already had a few football scholarships lined up, so I'm thinking like, man, I want to do this, I want to do that. And at the same time, I was like, I'm gonna play in college, play in the NFL. So I kind of went the sports route. So I've always wanted to do something that's very, I guess, involved, something that where things are happening, and I love those high stress environments, those jobs like that. So super, I'm super glad I found it, um, even at this point in my life. And I've never given serious thought to it, but in the back of my mind, I was like, that would be a cool job, getting to help people, jumping and burning buildings, kicking down doors, stuff like that. So these are the types of jobs I've been drawn to my whole life. I think we talked, I used to work in the oil field, and I love that too, being out there and driving around on rigs and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's right up my alley.
Right up your alley as you jump from one adrenaline sport to another. We get back to boxing. This fight's going to be a rematch. Was there a necessity to have the rematch? Did you just like the opportunity to stay active? I think Manuel has mentioned wanting to rematch you to me 30 times, probably.
Well, great. I'm glad I'm giving him the opportunity. I don't think the results are going to be any different than the first time. Uh, like I said, I got a call from Gabe from Legacy. He said, "Hey, what do you think about fighting Eastman again? He's something he wanted to do, or we'd love to have you in the card. If you want somebody else, we can look for somebody else." I say, "Hey, if he wants it, let's do it." And everything fits. And I like Manuel. All things aside, we fought and everything. I've seen him out in public, and he's a good dude. And if he really wants his opportunity this year, come get it.
Do you approach the fight? Do you approach the preparation any differently, having been in there with him and felt what he does one time already?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. For me, I was there at his last fight when he fought Cody East. I was actually in Cody's corner, so I got to see the things he was working on, what works for him, what doesn't. I still have a tape of our old fight, and me as a person, as a boxer, I should say, I'm very much a cerebral person. Every time I'm in camp and I go to sparring, I always film all my sparring. Say, okay, let's watch. What did I do good? What did I not do good? I analyze. I come back. I do it better. So, I think I know what he's going to do. I think I know what he needs to do. I believe I know the changes he's going to try to implement. And I'm on top of it, man. I got a lot of people that have been helping me out, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
What are the goals for you in this fight? How do you build on what was a victory in Mexico? You already have one up in the win column on Manuel Eastman. How do you build?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I wanted to, like we talked last time, I got to put my foot on the gas pedal a little bit more, put more punches out there, try to throw them with a little meter intent. And I just got to keep working on that. Um, I'd be very, very pleased with a stoppage, and that's obviously what I'm looking for. But as always, I'm looking to go out there, dominate, put my hands on somebody, and there's always things I'm working on. There's always ways to improve, and the big test is not if you can do it on the heavy bag or even if you can do it in sparring, is if you can do it in a fight. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm actually looking to make these improvements in the fight themselves. So.
From the motorcycles to the oil rigs to the boxing ring, I never though expected that you would have a international makeup sponsorship thanks to Murat.
That's right, man. That's right. He's my good friend. We train together every day. He's actually going to be in my corner. He's a very good friend of mine, and I was in his corner for his last, I think, 2 or 3 BKFC fights. And when him and I spar, we don't take it easy on each other, man. Like I said, you can see it on my face. He puts hands on me. There's guys that come out there, and they're kind of just playing pitter patter with you. When him and I go, we get after it. We try to hurt each other.
He's one of the top ranked cruiserweights in BKFC. How good do you think he is? I think this guy has that world champion potential skill.
Oh, absolutely, man. From having been in there with him, he hits very hard, and I can attest to that. He's rocked me before. He's marked up my face, and for what it is, a sport like BKFC bare knuckle, I think that's something he excels in. Partly because me, when I get out there, I'm more of a technician. I like to box and look for the big hits. He goes out there to fight. He goes out there to hurt people, and it's very sad that he's not getting any fight offers right now. The guy's staying ready. He's in the gym every day. So, BKFC, BYB, whoever's out there, give this guy a call. He's ready to go. He's ready to fight, and he wants to, stamp his name in that world.
What is it that you felt in this boring that makes him a tricky boxer?
And you've seen him fight. He's a big guy, but he's very light on his feet. He's got that Soviet style, that pendulum step. He moves very well, and a lot of people aren't used to seeing that. His hands are, they're very quick, and he puts a lot of snap on him. And he's got heavy punches too, which is a dangerous combination. The punches get there fast and they hurt. And especially in bare knuckle, getting hit with these is one shot, and that's that. So. He's a very unique fighter, especially for the United States. And like I said, he's just got the right mindset for bare knuckle. And I think he goes out there and beats a lot of those guys in the world, if not all of them.
I need to know your opinion. Probably, I don't know if I'm going to regret this. Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua?
If Anthony Joshua doesn't knock him out in 2 rounds, I'm gonna think that something's fishy. There's no reason for Jake Paul to even compete with a guy like Joshua, if that makes sense. Joshua's too good. He's got the pedigree, he's got the skills. He's a former world heavyweight champion, a legitimate heavyweight champion. He had legitimate belts, Olympic gold medalist. So I still think the fight's somehow going to fall through, or they're going to make a last minute rule change where Joshua has to wear 24-ounce gloves or something like that. But
well, there's already a rehydration clause making him be 10 pounds lighter than he normally is.
oh, okay. So yeah, it's starting. It's starting.
It's starting. It's starting. So not a fan of the influencer phase.
I think we talked a little bit about Jake Paul before, and for what it is, I don't think he's a bad boxer. He's only been boxing for what 5-6 years, and he does pretty well. And props to him for actually going out there and sparring with real boxers, bringing in real trainers. And if this is a real fight that happens with Joshua and 10-ounce gloves, then hats off to Jake Paul. You're going out there and there's a really good chance you're going to get hurt, really hurt. But that Mike Tyson fight I thought was just garbage.
Felt like someone carried someone a little bit. It was a bit of a show.
Yeah, very much so.
And also, you're the first boxer I've gotten to talk to, so I wanted to ask, what do you think? What do you make of Benavidez now? El Monster saying he's moving up to cruiserweight.
Wow. And all things aside, I think he might do all right over there. I really do. He's only spent a little bit of time at light heavy. It would be very cool to see him fight Bivol or Beterbiev, but he did great against Anthony Yard. He beat Gvozdyk, and I don't think it's a terrible move. I think it's very, very interesting, and he is very much avoided. People don't want to fight him. I don't think that's a secret. So I think it'll be very interesting.
Do you even start thinking about the names that you dream about, that you would want to see, that you expect in a couple of years would be realistic guys, looking at the other heavyweights that are climbing the ladder right now?
Yeah, of course. I guess maybe part of it is my amateur background. I love to check to see who the number one guy is, who the number two guy is. I got to spar with a super heavyweight from the U.S. team when I was out in camp with Richard Torres a few months ago in Colorado. I think he'll be real good. Big athletic guy, 6'4", 250, and his name is Kelvin Watts. I think he'll be big. He'll be real good. But yeah, absolutely. Obviously in England, the big name right now is Moses Atama, and he's, everyone they're putting in front of him, he's just crushing them. So, I think he could be the real deal.
In your estimation, how long do you think it is before we see kind of that changeover where the Usyks, the Furies, the Wilders, they finally take the oodles of riches that they've rightfully earned in this sport and leave it to you younger guys?
I think that's a real question, a real concern, because sometimes, the previous generation is just going to stay fighting the previous generation. They're going to, keep their belts amongst themselves, and it's very hard for some of these younger guys to get a shot. And especially, now that Usyk had all the belts, they're obviously, I think he got stripped of what, the WBO maybe or something like that. WBO, I don't know, but mandatory stripping or whatever it's called. But I think Moses will get a shot soon, within the next few years, regardless. And I think he might be the first young next generation guy to kind of get a crack at that.
How much do you pay attention to kind of the broadcasting landscape that's going on with boxing right now? We've got DAZN, we've got Riyadh season. TKO is coming on to Paramount next year. The broadcasting platform has just kind of totally changed where boxing was a couple months ago, where a top rank doesn't seem to hold the weight it once did.
Yeah, and I think when you've been at the top for so long, maybe you don't feel the need to evolve. And Riyadh, they kind of tried something new, or rather, DAZN tried something new, and then Riyadh's trying something new, and so a lot of that power in the boxing world is kind of shifting around, getting dissipated a little bit. I think it'll be interesting to see what TKO does. I know a lot of boxers aren't for it, in terms of making those 10, 20, $50 million purses. That might go away with TKO, but Riyadh season, they've definitely made some huge fights in the last few years, and I'm real thankful for that. But yeah, Top Rank, they're middling at best these days. England's doing a lot of good stuff, and obviously in the U.S., Top Rank is still huge, but I think on the global level, they're not the powerhouse they once were.
Do you, from seeing the transition, from seeing the new promoters, how it's changing, do you feel there's a reason or not to be optimistic from the boxing fan perspective?
Ooh, okay. Interesting question. I think as a boxing fan, you should be optimistic. As a boxer, you might get an up and coming boxer. You might get more opportunities on some of the bigger shows. Like, for example, I love what UFC is doing with Fight Pass. It's still got the UFC brand with it, even though it's a smaller promotion, but it puts eyes on. Oh, 1 second. Sorry, my phone is. Oh, sorry. Am I back? Am I good?
Yeah, you're good.
Whatever. Sorry, my phone was wigging out. I love what UFC Fight Pass is doing. They're putting a lot of eyes on these younger up and coming guys, and things like the Contender series, and I think that's great. In boxing, a lot of what I've seen, I think, unless you're an Olympian or you really got a lot of money behind you, it can be hard to break into the boxing mainstream. Whereas in MMA, it might be a little bit, maybe not easier, but I feel like you might have a few more opportunities to get eyes on you.
Are you optimistic right now, looking at your trajectory, your opportunities, what you see potentially ahead of you? As we're sure that the legacy continues to will be your last fight of this year, at least I think, for what could materialize though for you in 2026.
Yeah, I think so. And I've actually been in touch with a promoter from Colorado for Sparta. They wanted to have me on, which was, real cool. But at that point, I was already in talks for this fight with Legacy. But, I'd love to come back to them soon. So, it's been great. Like I said, I'm going to be starting the AFR Fire Academy in January. So I'm going to be sidelined for about 6 months, because it's going to be 6 months real intensive, Monday through Friday, early morning to late night. But yeah, I mean, definitely, I think if I keep fighting, keep winning, I'm bound to get my shot. I really am.
Damasio Page, I believe, is involved in the fire department. Jalen Fuller. You'd be surprised, audience, about how many combat sports athletes are actually out there saving lives and being service people to the rest of the community during the day. So are you prepared for not just the physical, but also the schooling and everything this is going to encompass learning fires?
Oh yeah, man, absolutely. And like I said, I love situations like this. I got to meet some of my classmates, and I think the majority of them are kind of in the same boat as me. We all love a challenge. I can see the fear in some of their eyes, because from what I've heard, the Albuquerque AFR academy is notoriously hard. They run you, they really beat you down. But I've always, even in sports and everything, I always wanted to see if somebody could put someone or something in front of me that'll break me. that really pushes me to new heights. So I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to challenge myself, test myself, and God willing, everything will go good for me, and I'll get out there and I could help some people. And on top of that, they have a great work schedule. You work for 48 hours and then you're out for 4 days. So 2 days on, 4 days off, and I think that's freaking amazing, especially when it comes to training and fighting. So yeah, 100% looking forward to it.
The last thing, you brought up challenge. How do you feel that this rematch challenges you?
So I talked with my friend Tim. He did a little interview, and I'll tell you the same thing I told him. I think Eastman looked real good in his last fight when he fought Cody East. I definitely think he's improved. I've improved too, and I think that's what it's about. Two people coming together and really give me your best. I'll give you my best, and we'll see who comes out on top. And I treat every fight like a challenge. I think we already talked at one point. I said there were a few fights that I might have looked at the guy's record and I said, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to knock him out. And all of a sudden it doesn't happen and you're not in the right state of mind. And, oh, gosh, boom, I have a draw on my record. And so that's definitely a mindset I've gotten away from. I'm here for it. I expect to see the best Manuel Eastman I've seen. And, he can expect to see the best Drago he's seen.
It's Baby Drago, Leonid Grachev. You guys can see him at the Kiva Auditorium, Legacy Boxing Promotions. The legacy continues on December 12th.
Absolutely. Big shout out to all my sponsors, all my friends, all my fans that are coming to see me. Friday is going to be the last day I'm going to have tickets. So if you guys need tickets, shoot me a message on Instagram at Baby Drago Boxer, or shoot me a text if you have my phone number. If you don't, Instagram. Friday is the last day I'm going to have tickets. I hope to see you guys there.
We're going to come back with some bare knuckle talk after a quick commercial break. Thank you again, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Micah.
We'll be right back. Just a second. I think. I think we're actually going to stay right here at the Function Ocean. Thanks, me, everybody. Couple things. Gonna hit that pause one more time. Chris Brown's coming up at the top of the hour. Logan Paxton's gonna join us at the bottom at 7:30 to close.
there we go. Couple of audio issues. Trying through things tonight. The fun of going live. Produce time. Appreciate Baby Jago, Leonid Grachev for the time tonight. Our first guest in the books. Legacy continues to Legacy Boxing Promotions, Kiva Auditorium. Josh Pipple Torres is going to be on the card. Christian Cabral is on the card. Abraham Pettis in the main event. It's going to be a big one. That's December 12th. This weekend, besides that karate combat contest that I ran down for you before we got to Leonid Grachev, we have a huge weekend of bare knuckle also ahead. BKB is in Wales. BKB 49 Dance of Dragons. The main event features a title defense as Liam Reese defends the BKB Super Welterweight Championship against former champion Rolando Dye. A matchup that can shake up the division. It's Cardiff, Wales, the Trigon, the most violent arena in combat sports. The tone of this match is crazy. If vicious body work. Die. A hit of a finisher, especially in the Trigon. He has just become ultra aggressive in that battleground compared to any other. Can Reese defend successfully? He has the homegrown support. He has the big knockout power. Can Dye handle the pressure, the small surface, the body work that Reese provides, the audience that's going to be right on top of you? There's a tendency for these fights to end early, and I believe there's a big possibility for it in this one. A wild card, a Dye victory just shakes up the division, turns it upside down. So you have the BKB 49, the Dance of Dragons. And then also this weekend, we have BKFC 85, the rematch in the main event, semifinals of the lightweight title tournament. Austin No Doubt Trout, who vacated apparently or was stripped. I'm still never got confirmation on which one, the BKFC welterweight title, and then drops in the rankings below a bunch of people that he already defeated. Neither one of those still makes sense to me, but it's Austin Trout. It's a legend. It's the first traditional boxing champion who crossed over to win a BKFC World Championship, taking on, if not the face of BKFC, the second most regarded face of that promotion. Once you get past Lorenzo Hunt, no one has done more, winning 2 titles, lightweight and welterweight, as what Luis Palomino has done. Luis Palomino gets a second shot at Austin Trout this weekend. The fight was not that close for me the first time. Austin Trout's pivot, his ability to turn Luis Palomino and kind of deflect his aggression instead of getting shoved on the ropes, he was able to swiftly turn that position and put Palomino against the ropes. There was a knockdown, I believe, that wasn't counted, that should have been. It felt like the judges might have went against Trout that time. To Palomino's credit, he has rebounded in the only way that he knows how to. He has come back ferociously. He has come back aggressively. He won the King of the Streets title in Miami, defeating Howard Davis. Howard Davis, one of the better, more technical boxers that BKFC has. But again, that's not really on the same level of the world champion Austin Trout. It's not a Cotto. It's not an Alvarez. It's not the level that Austin Trout has seen. Now, for the MMA world, Luis Palomino was in an all-time classic in the WSOF with Justin Gaethje. This is a guy born and bred, battle-tested. He's been here at the Jackson Wink Academy before. His work in the clinch, his ability to continue to evolve in the sport of bare knuckle is utterly impressive. But we're also talking about how Austin Trout, bringing in Muay Thai into his boxing game, has improved his clinch, and how he's been able to utilize his frames to get out of danger and to get his back off the fence. You can't highlight that ability enough, how he hasn't been trappable, how a fighter that wants distance has been able to maintain it. The tricks of the trade and the tricks up the sleeve. I still favor Austin Trout going into this rematch, but Luis Palomino is no slouch. He is a dog, a 2-division BKFC world champion, someone that I would say is easily a front runner for a BKFC Hall of Fame. I was talking with Nathan Rivera, top 5 ranked featherweight, cageminds.com for you still to find that interview. And he said right away, Mount Rushmore, Lorenzo Hunt, Luis Palomino, Christine Faria, that those names were no doubters, that it was without a doubt, without a second thought, and he wanted to add his face up there after he takes off Kai Stewart's. That is the kind of legacy that Luis Palomino has carved out for himself in this sport. And I think there is ultra motivation to come back and get this one against Austin Trout, to not let Trout fully assert himself as the dominant figure in this sport. 45-year-old Luis Palomino versus the 40-year-old Austin Trout. When we talk about experience, we talk about the speed advantage, we talk about the reflexes. At this point, I still think all of that goes on the Trout side. But the power, that is in Palomino's favor. Trout, world champion boxer at 54, he's been begging for this opportunity, saying, I want a world title, and I'm not even in my weight class fighting up at 65. The card is incredible. Seminole Hard Rock. You also get the vacant bantamweight title fight. This one we've been waiting for forever. Alberto Blas, unamicably, very hostilely parting ways with BKFC, now part of BKB. I expect him to get a title very shortly. His belt that is up for grabs is between the unbeaten Justin Ibarola at 8-0 and the 7-1 Ryan Reber. Ryan Reber's only loss, a knockout at the hands of Alberto Blas. Heavy-handed, crazy. Ibarola comes from a traditional boxing background, unbeaten, as I just mentioned, in the sport. He has momentum. He has confidence. Strong boxing fundamentals, accuracy, distance control, and stamina. The guy is built like a tank at this 135 division, a balanced approach, capable of going in for the finish or really using his skills and working his way through rounds. Ryan Reber is the taller, longer fighter. He is a slick boxer in his own right, efficient, calculated, technical, a bit more of a defensively minded fighter than what you see coming out of Ibarola. He tends, though, to be out throwing. He is so defensively aware. He is trying to make his shots count and really looking to not get hit. He has to be, and he has been able to weather adversity, getting knocked down before. We've also seen we've seen his chin be tested by the knockout loss to Blas. So Ryan Reber could get dropped and then come back to outpoint Ibarola. Ibarola, you would think his pressure is going to be key to either getting a decision or quite possibly a late stoppage. I don't think he has the same one-shot sniper, like killer knockout ability that you see from a Alberto Blas, but I think he could wear it down Reber. Don't be surprised also if Reber, who's been knocked down before, gets knocked down and then a chaotic fight ensues where he's able to work his way back into it and then establish that reach. The bantamweight title is on the line, up for grabs at BKFC 85. Feature fight, you get Leonardo Perdomo, the Cuban assassin, 9-0, looking to match the mark of the BKB heavyweight champion Gustavo Trujillo, the other most devastating knockout artist in the sport of bare knuckle. Corey Willis has had 2 big victories inside of the BKFC. Defeated Zach Kamas. Kamas, a very experienced pugilist. You also had a knockout win over Brady Minster. The 39-year-old Corey Willis has been a revelation in the sport of bare knuckle, coming off of being a regional MMA fighter and now showing what he can do, putting all the last of his chips on the table. He's taking on an uphill battle in a Perdomo that is just lining up guys, just knocking out competitors, building a name for himself as one of the most devastating knockout artists in the sport. Women's flyweight action, the former title challenger Christine Vicens is going to be looking to get back in the win column as she welcomes in Karina Dam to the sport. So I'm really looking forward to this BKFC 58 card. Gogo Slavetsky, the former welterweight champion, he's jumping back in there. You get Pettis versus Townsville, 2 top-ranked cruiserweights on that one. Julio Perez Rodriguez looking to make a rebound, suffered his first loss in the sport against Esteban Rodriguez, and now looks to bounce back. Beautiful left hook. You have to look for the open stance, stylistic movement of Townsville. I mentioned that Howard Davis, incredible pugilist, the former featherweight contender, continuing to look to build in the flyweight division. It looks like the former flyweight title challenger, G. Perez, he's going to be back against Chauncey Wilson. Wilson 3-4, but someone that has been hanging around the top 5 of the flyweight division forever. And Rambo Russo, a training partner of Ryan Reber, and I believe of Howard Davis, also in bantamweight action, 3-1, explosive, compact athlete. BKFC 58. This is not the last card of the year. This is the last numbered card of the year. This is a spectacle to go out the night before UFC 323. So think about it. Karate Combat on one screen, BKFC 85 on the other screen. You 2-screen the weekend. The next morning, you jump up for the card of the card and you get to watch BKB 49. And then that night, the UFC with the final pay-per-view of the year, the final pay-per-view of the ESPN era. Go over to cageminds.com, MMA After Hours, Michael Carlisle and myself with a full preview of the incredible pay-per-view card. There are 2 title fights, 2 former champions, 1 former double champion, and that's just the pay-per-view. Not to mention a huge moving night for prospects in the lightweight division. Can't wait to get out to Vegas to see how UFC 323 all unfolds. Hopefully, here in a moment, we're going to be joined by Chris Brown, the future Breezy, the CFFC middleweight champion, defending his title December 20th. We're going to be joined by Chris Brown in just a moment. Going to send him another invite. Make sure that Breezy is on his way over. Can remind you, but Chris Brown picks up the LFA welterweight title. We saw him on the PFL Challenger Series. Very controversial loss. Probably should have been in the alternate position that Carlos Leal was in, and then ended up having to return. Another kind of scratch at the board, and we get Breezy becoming big body Breezy, moving up to the middleweight division, and Chris Brown didn't get the fight that would have surely given him the path to the UFC. He was not able to get the Doris Knight, to get Dawkins to sign the contract to unify the CFFC titles. And instead, we now see that Kyle Dawkins has gotten that call back up to the UFC. Gerald Marshart, 2 wins in a row. Dawkins is on a roll. Chris Brown looking to get his opportunity to get to the UFC. And we're going to be talking to Breezy in just a moment. Efforting Chris Brown right now ahead of his December 20th title defense. Chris Brown, all the way from an amateur lightweight champion to a professional middleweight title under his belt at this point. Huge weekend of combat sports upcoming. Thank you again, Leonid Grachev, for joining us here on My Fight Show. It's episode 4. We've been here 5 times. The pilot, I'm still trying to get the hang of how we go smoothly. Trying to cut out the turbulence. That seems to be what we're working towards. How can we cut out the turbulence? Last week, we talked to Jimmy Dukes. We talked all about Fight World 41. Got a couple post-fight interviews over on YouTube. Shout out to Alejandro Cuero after the spinning back elbow knockout victory in the co-main event. Troy Green with his upset victory in the main event. And also a shout out to John Moreno, Fight World Amateur Lightweight Champion. Interviews with all of them over on the YouTube. Not to mention, also on social media, all across everything that we're doing. You have the clips up, about 8 in all of the post-fight interviews from APFC 21. Still waiting on Chris Brown at this point. The joys of going live and getting all the way through your BKFC preview. Currently awaiting Chris Brown here. We had him penciled in for 7 o'clock. At 7:30, still got on a 9-fight win streak. Logan Paxton, going to talk to him at APFC. Both of the times that he's won here at APFC 18 and 21 at the Isleta Resort and Casino. We'll be talking to him at 7:30 is the plan. BKFC free prelims available YouTube across their social media. That's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern Friday night. UFC broadcaster, Spanish commentary broadcaster, Gaston Riano looks for his 3rd win in BKFC. He's going to be taking on Dusty Sparks. Sparks 0-1 so far. The 39-year-old had a loss to Hassan Algaram, and Algaran, for my money, one of the less talked about, but should be more talked about lightweights in BKFC. I could see making an argument for this man being in the rankings 4-0 and keeps impressing me each time out with his technical boxing, with his shoulder roll. So no slouch in the loss, or no shame. Lost Spark gonna be tough taking on. You're watching My Fight Show. It's episode 4. We are waiting for Chris Brown. I have sent him a text. I sent him a DM. We are hoping to get Breezy the Future on once again. Appears we got a little bit of breaking news. UFC 324, January 24th, Las Vegas, Nevada. The big mega card has gained a new addition. Josh Hokett will not get his wish with the call out of Walter Walker. He will instead be taking on the former LFA heavyweight champion, just made his UFC debut in Qatar with a decision win, Denzel Freeman. Josh Hokett, Denzel Freeman. Newest addition to UFC 324, getting some heavyweights on the card. Going to be heading out to Vegas this week. The UFC card is that big. Haven't traveled to a UFC card about 6 months. A little less because it was the end of June. We're talking about it was International Fight Week. We're talking about Alex Pereira reclaiming the light heavyweight title. And this week going to be heading back out to Vegas for UFC 323. It's getting to the point where we could speculate, has Merab Dvalishvili, he's about to set a new record. I think Tito Ortiz is the only one at this time who's arguing to have had more title defenses in a calendar year. But if we're going more modern era, the greatest year a champion has ever had is what we could be staring in the face. Do go back to 2006. 2006. 3 defenses. That fourth fight is what got Tito Ortiz. If you guys will remember the 3rd round knockout victory for Chuck Liddell. Not forgetting that the Ken Shamrock Tito Ortiz fight at UFC 61 was not a title fight. Rarefied air to talk about what Merab is attempting to do here. Dvalishvili is looking to set a pace that it's really hard to know who could possibly keep up with what he's doing. The defenses, and it makes a lot of sense for a guy that cardio has been his trademark. Cardio has been weaponized by Merab Dvalishvili. So it makes sense that he's almost lapping the field, that he is the pace car, and then he keeps lapping you. It's almost if you're F1 fans, a Van Streppen like performance from the Georgian bantamweight. Each title defense, each performance has been that much more dominant, that much more decisive, that much more brutalizing to the previous foe. Corey Sandhagen was put through a ringer. I thought, as many people want to argue, that the Merab win over Nurmagomedov over Umar was a lot closer than led us to be. It wasn't because of the running of the clock. It wasn't because of just that physical domination that, if you're a football fan, you see between the offensive and defensive line. When your head is held a little bit lower before the next snap, you can see that emotion. You can read that body language. The body language of Merab Dvalishvili has consistently went to another level, and another level where he's broken his opponents. We're talking about the finest martial artists in the world, and Merab is overwhelming them. He spams them with offense, and he is creating a title run that we should reverence in remembering forever. You don't see what Dominic Cruz, what Jose Aldo did in the WEC every day. You don't see what GSP, Anderson Silva, it took to really getting from Anderson Silva, no disrespect, Chris Weidman, but to Israel Adesanya, before we started thinking, are we seeing something special in history? The hot potato that the legendary light heavyweight division was, until John Jones took a grasp of that title. We don't see these kind of reigns every day. What Merab Dvalishvili has done and is doing is special. And just because he's doing it doesn't mean what Alexandre Pantoja doing isn't equally as impressive of a feat. It's incredible to see these title reigns, to see Pantoja having these close battles with a Royval, with a Moreno, and then coming out and choking in Asakara, putting an exclamation point on a Kai Kara France. Those kind of victories, these kind of title runs, they're special in this sport. To be able to see this kind of dominance. You look at what a Canelo has done, what a Usyk has done. That's the kind of rarefied air that we see in the main event and co-main event. For my money, I think Dvalishvili has surpassed Dominic Cruz. And undoubtedly, with Fighter of the Year, I think I could still see giving it to him, even if he loses to Joshua Van. Maybe Van steals it at this point. It's hard to deny that what he's done hasn't been special. And maybe he could steal the award, the accolade from Dvalishvili or from Pantoja. I'm getting all clustered on that one. With a upset of Merab. If Peter Young is able to capture that title, and then you say you have another upset in the co-main event, Joshua Van might be the next guy that I think that can have that argument for Fighter of the Year. It's all in play this weekend. A lot of historical implications and possibilities. Chris Brown has reached out to me, and we are trying to make this happen right now. Hopefully, we can get together get Breezy on, talk a middleweight title defense, tease him about being big body Breezy, forgetting about me. There he is. Chris Paul, how you doing tonight?
Hold on a second. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you? I'm not getting any sound. I can't hear anything. Can't hear you either. Can you hear me? You can hear me? I can't hear you or myself. Hold on. Can you hear me? Trying to see if the microphone's working, but I can't hear anything. Let me try to exit and get back into it, maybe. Yeah. Give me a thumbs up.
Hello. Hello. Okay, now we're back to everybody being able to hear me. All right, not sure what was going on with that, everybody. Okay, now we're back to everybody being able to hear me. All right, not sure what was going on with that, everybody. Episode 4, still learning how to fly this plane. It's my fight show. We'll see if we're able to hear Chris Brown in a moment. Trying to effort him, talk about his CFFC title fight. Realizing now, because the audio wasn't working, that you guys probably missed a lot of what I was saying about the early prelims for BKFC 85 on Friday night, live free on YouTube, across their social media, the zone, everywhere. Yeah, that one didn't work out as hoped. Huge weekend of action. Friday night, karate combat on one screen. Make it a two-screen night because you got the BKFC 85, last numbered event of the year. Mega title rematch. Trout Palomino 2. Leonardo Perdomo looking to add to the knockout count. Bantamweight title vacant and up for grabs. Karate combat heavyweight title same night. Let's see if Chris Brown can hear us this time.
Now I can hear you.
Oh, now I can hear you. Great.
Yeah. We got it worked out.
There he
You
is.
there?
He might be late, but he's on time.
I'm here. I am here.
So what's going on, Chris Brown? December 20th. The title's on the line.
Yes, sir. Title on the line. Right there. Champ. Coming to defend.
Cage Fury Fighting Championships is Hard Rock, Atlantic City, Durham, Coacheville.
Yeah. You better than me.
The name already shot a double leg on me. Do we expect a wrestler here?
Oh, of course. That's what I've been having to fight. Just these European grapplers. But it is what it is. I'm used to it at this point. Try to make it as entertaining as possible, but you're just gonna be trying to hold on for dear life.
Hold on for dear life. We know that you're unique, almost some would say unorthodox with the striking that you put out there. Is there a lot of game planning now as you've evolved in your career, or is it still going out and letting it flow because their attack has been kind of obvious from the get-go? A lot of these guys are looking to get in on the legs and take you down.
Yeah, they're trying, but the last couple of fights have shown, like when I fought the Ukrainian kid in Philadelphia, that trying to just take down and hold on for life, for dear life, is not going to work. Nobody wants to see that. I'm out striking you no matter what. It's not like people are able to ground and pound me. Like, even if you are able to take me down, I'm so good at neutralizing everything. I don't get ground and pounded or anything. So he's going to get frustrated with that, because even if he does manage a takedown, I'm going to get back up, and he's not going to get any ground and pound.
What are the keys that you feel like are in your game that allow you to stop that, to halt them from securing the takedown and fastening you to the ground, that allows you to keep scrambling?
My experience, I've been doing this a long time now. Like I said, I've been fighting this type of grappler for a while now. Training with a lot of good wrestlers. We got a lot of guys in there, good bodies who are getting in. And takedown defense is one of my best traits. So, not really too worried about it. Just more focusing and out here trying to get this finish.
Do you feel there's a big difference in the kind of defensive system that you need to use to stop those takedowns when it's a Georgian, a Russian wrestler, rather than the American style wrestlers?
Not really. Not really, from what I can tell. You know, I have a couple of Chechens that I trained with, so it's about the same kind of wrestling as them. So I already know what to expect. Been training with these guys for a long time. He's not the first Georgian that I've hung out with, you know, Roman Odoz.
Odolidze.
Odolidze, yeah. He used to train with us here at Jackson Wink back in the day. We used to have some good fun rounds. So I know what to expect. I'm looking forward to it. People forget that I'm a wrestler myself because I do all of the craziness, breezy style shit.
You a wrestler like Justin Gaethje's a wrestler.
That's where we started.
And we all forget about it.
It's funny, when I first started, they used to get mad. They'd be like, all right, we know you can wrestle. We want to see you striking. When I was fighting for King of the Cage, John Judah gave to me. He was like, all right, we know you can grapple. Because that was the go-to. It was like, all right, let's get him to the ground. And then, you know, and now look at us now.
What has shifted the gears in that direction that you now are kicking, striking, spinning like a Tasmanian devil, and not wrestling?
Wrestling when I had to. I had a couple shakedowns last fight, and I was hurt.
It's
You're
gonna say a couple. I kind of use the wrestling.
I used it a little bit. It was working. I was hurt last fight.
You felt that you actually had to wrestle in that moment, like kind of needed to get your wits about you?
Yeah, just well, the doctor said I kicked the muscle off my bone on my hip. The first head kick, the first front head kick I threw, cheap kick to the head, I felt something pop. So this is like the first minute into the fight. I felt something pop in my hip. And I was like, oh, shit, something's not right. I could feel it immediately. If you look at the fight, I really didn't throw any left kicks. I think I threw one head kick at the third round. I haven't rewatched
What did
the
that
fight.
feel like? How do you fight through the hip, the muscle tearing? That just sounds ridiculously painful.
I was like, oh, this is no good. And I think I threw a kick, and I was like, all right, yeah, that's definitely not. And there was one, I tried to pick him up. I think I tried to go for a suplex or something, and I lifted him up, and we kind of both sprawled out. But that happened because when I lifted him up, my hip went out, or I felt that hip, and I just dropped. That's why we both fell down at one part of the fight. And I was like, yeah, no more big throws. I was like, no more big throws. So I was like, after that, I had to adjust. So it was just constantly adjusting during the fight, what felt good and what I could do and what I couldn't do, and making sure I had to mitigate what he was trying to do to me and not let him know that I was compromised. Because I was on crutches after the fight when I got back here.
You get the title.
I came back to Albuquerque and went to the hospital. They put me on crutches for 6 weeks. Yeah, there's my crutches right there. My crutches right here. I was telling you, I was out here hobbling around. The doctor said I kicked the muscle off the bone. He's like, I've never seen. He's like, I've never seen this injury in someone your age. He's like, usually like high school kickers or something or soccer players get this injury. I was like, yeah, it's kicking a guy in his face.
Leave it to Breezy to need to be special.
Oh man, and after the fight, I knew something was wrong. I told Wink after. I didn't even say anything to Wink during the fight. After the fight, me, him, and Holly got in the back. I was like, "Hey man, something popped." I was like, "He's like, are you serious?" I was like, "Yeah, I know it popped." I'm just like, we'll see what happens. I went through the crowd, hung out and took a bunch of pictures and autographs with everybody. And then went to the bar, and I go and sit down at the bar. I was sat at the bar for like maybe 30 minutes, and then I was like, all right, guys, I got to go to the room. I was in excruciating pain. I was in so much pain. Once all that adrenaline wore off, I was hurting. I went back to the room. I was in so much pain. But luckily, nothing was
Won
torn.
the title in June. You have this injury.
Yeah, because this fight was supposed to. Well, I was supposed to
And it
fight
looked
Kyle.
like they wanted to book you for September.
Yeah, I was supposed to fight Kyle the month. Yeah, in September, like right after my last fight, I was supposed to fight Kyle, but I was on crutches, so they didn't want. Yeah, so so I couldn't fight. And then he got pulled up because they were going to let him fight. The guy I'm fighting now. But then he got pulled up. And so then they rescheduled us, and then I caught another injury. So we had to reschedule to December.
So we got 2 injuries. We've got this long road. Middleweight Breezy taking a beating. What do you do to now deliver a beating back for these couple months of adversity?
Well, yeah, not have self-inflicted wounds. So I hurt myself kicking him. So, just managing myself a little better. It was just like kind of when the fight happened, they kind of rushed us. They told us that we had an intermission and we were starting to get ready, and said we had time for the intermission, and then they turned around and came right back. Nope, we're coming right now. So I was like, oh shit. So I think I just injured myself, like not just being warmed up enough. So
do we see a highlight reel finish?
Say that again.
Do we see a highlight reel finish coming together for this one?
Oh man, that's what we're planning on. That's what I'm going for. I'm trying to make a statement. I need to go get another decisive win. I want people to, see that Breezy fight in action. Yeah, I'm just trying to go out there and showcase my skills. I feel like I've gotten a lot better at things that I do. A lot more refined, a lot sneakier. I feel like I'm ready to put on a great show.
How do you become sneakier?
Just the way I'm putting things together. I'm very creative on my strikes. So the way I'm able to put things together and make people move just to see what I can get them to do and where I can fit stuff in at. Having a really, really good time doing that. I've been practicing some stuff for a long time, so things that I've been doing, switching up my style a little bit.
You were right there. You're supposed to unify the titles with Kyle Dawkins. We see where Kyle is. So you got to feel like you are right on the cusp with one more victory to get that call.
Yeah, because he was running. He didn't want to fight. He didn't want to fight me in North Dakota. That's why I had to fight the other guy. He pulled out of that fight 2 weeks out because he said he couldn't get a corner for his fight.
Still never going to understand that excuse.
2 weeks out, signed the contract, but 2 weeks out, you say that. But, they're saying that he didn't want no parts of me in North Dakota. He was trying to fight me in Philadelphia, where he lives at. He was trying to get a hometown swing.
I guess we're going to say that's mitigating risk was what was happening in that one.
Yeah. He was not about to risk getting beat up in North Dakota. by Breezy.
He's Chris Breezy. He's the future. He's the present. He's a middleweight. Does it feel different now? The 15 pounds, you're a couple fights in, you're getting to work on the strength, not so much as us having to worry about the conditioning at 170. Do you feel any different now as a middleweight?
Feel stronger. Not as drained, but then again, just still maintaining that weight. Can't be getting still get, but it's easier to maintain not cutting as far as from what I was doing at 170 still, because I'm people surprised how big I get.
And I also gotta ask, get your take. What is the vibe in the gym been like? Steve Garcia on a tear, another world title contender out of the Jackson Wink Academy.
Man, I'm loving to see Steve have so much success right now. Been known like him fighting with me every day. Just I'm like, man, these little dudes is not going to be able to handle you, and it shows because he goes out there and he does exactly what he's going to do. Because we be getting it in. I make sure I warm him up and get him ready for his sparring days. Every time I go with him first round every time we start sparring, so I can get him warmed up.
UFC Fight Pass, CFFC middleweight title is on the line December 20th. Chris Brown, thank you for the time tonight.
Hey, appreciate you. Make sure you check us out. I'm fighting. Do you know Holly has her fight January? Was it January 6th?
I believe so. January 5th, maybe.
5th or 6th, something like that. But yeah, so helping Holly get ready for her to go get this belt. So we're full go at the gym.
Thank you for the time, Chris.
All right, man. Y'all have a good one.
So that was Chris Brown on the way out. Of course, we're always running a little bit crazy when the show goes live, and we're right away going to add Logan Paxton into the conversation.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Man, my pleasure. Sorry to put you on hold there for a couple minutes. How you doing tonight?
No worries at all. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Oh, doing pretty good. Just flying by the seat of my pants. Glad you're here. By the time I got the audio issues figured out where I couldn't hear Chris for like 5 minutes back there.
Oh, it's no worries at all. You got to figure it out.
Always flying by the seat of our pants. And that's kind of what you were doing a couple weeks ago. The phone rings. How much notice was it for APFC 21?
I mean, officially for the fight itself, I think was just under 3 weeks for that opponent. But I luckily for this one, I did have an inclination that I was going to be fighting on the card. They kind of promised me a spot because of my last performance for Albuquerque, so I didn't know I was going to be on the card. But for that specific opponent, it was just under 3 weeks.
We've seen your progression coming down in weight. Was there a strategic reason why you thought lightweight versus welterweight's going to be the path for you?
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at early on in my pro career, I was kind of fluctuating between welterweight and lightweight. I already fought lightweight, I think 3 times previously before this one, just because I figured that's where my home was going to be when I'm in the UFC and the bigger show. But then one thing I realized was, man, it takes a toll on me because I walk around, regularly, mid 180s. So trying to fight as consistent as I do, like last year I had 4 to 5 fights. This year I've had 3. I realized I can't really fight consistently, killing myself to cut that much weight. So I kind of just had to change the game plan a little bit, go up weight classes to welterweight, middleweight, just so I could fight as often as possible.
Well, then you lead to another question. Was it just a necessity, a hurry? Why are you trying to fight as often as possible?
Yeah, just because I mean, in my career, I like to stay active. I feel like with the success breeds success. The momentum, all that stuff. When it's on your side, I like to fight as much as possible because that experience, and then you just keep that success rolling. But early on in my career, one thing I was riddled with was injuries. I had an ACL blowout with a full reconstruction of a meniscus. I've torn my LCLs, MCLs, just about every damn thing that belongs in my knee has been torn. So I've just been a lot of injuries that were keeping me sidelined to where I couldn't fight as often as possible. And I feel like that was due partially because I was staying so emaciated, kind of at a lower weight, just in case I had to get down to those short notice weight class and stuff like that. So I felt like my body wasn't quite as healthy as it could be. So then I when I switched to fighting heavier, walking around 185, fighting welterweight, all that stuff, I feel like I haven't got injured in a long time. And I think just because I'm able to fuel my body, I'm able to give it what it needs after these long camps and these hard fights to just be able to fight consistently.
How hard is it to hone in on the recovery side of MMA, of a vigorous sport that's so demanding?
Yeah, man. It's one of those things where like I'm fortunate that I've competed at the highest levels for a long time, and I've been in some of the best rooms when it comes to wrestling, to where they really prioritize recovery. Having your PTs, having your ice baths, all that stuff. So I've been in those demographics, like Division One wrestling, to where I realized how important recovering was. But I also was I was a young buck, but I was a 19, 20, 21 wrestling in college, to where even if I didn't recover the best, I didn't feel it. I could just keep going. I was young, but now as I'm getting, later into the tenure of my, fight career and path, and I've had the injuries, I'm realizing that I got to take it just as seriously. And I'm fortunate to have, my girlfriend's a nurse, so it helps a lot that she's always hammering in like, all right, you got to stay hydrated, you got to stay healthy, you got to get to the fight, and she's helping me out with a lot of things. But also, I just have now I'm starting to get onto a bunch of PT, ice baths again. Just every day I do something to help my body, because I also every day I do something to hurt my body. So I'm trying to keep that dichotomy pretty even balanced.
How much of a transition is it going from wrestling at 184 pounds I saw in college to coming down now the 70s, the 50s, that drastic of a weight difference?
Well, I'll do you one, but I'll actually probably blow your mind with this one. I wrestled a heavyweight in college, also. So I actually, I one of my first loves was weightlifting, and even before I found wrestling in high school, I was a big weightlifter. So once I found wrestling, I didn't want to stop weightlifting. I just want to be the biggest, strongest person I could be. And when I got to college, after wrestling 3 years in high school, I was my first year in college. I was wrestling 197 pounds, and I was cutting weight. And then the guy who was the starter, he was a former D1 wrestler, and I was just beginning my college career, so he was a little bit better than me. So I decided to bump up to heavyweight and challenge for the spot, and I ended up beating our heavyweight out. And I only weighed at that time probably 205, but but yeah. So that year I was able to go to heavyweight. I All American. I placed seventh in the nation. So that was pretty good. So I'm no stranger to fighting bigger men, and wrestling as big as they come. But once I transitioned to fighting, I realized all that extra muscle, all the extra padding and fat, that wasn't necessarily it wasn't good for me to like be the most well-rounded fighter. It made me slower. And I used to train with guys. My first gym I trained at was with the Diaz brothers, and they're all about cardio and all that stuff. So they told me, hey, eventually you got to get down to like welterweight, lightweight kind of stuff. And I thought they were crazy. But then, now here I am, 5 or 6 years later, going down to lightweight again.
So what's the hometown? Where did you grow up?
So California, Sacramento. Sacramento was where I was born, raised. So when I graduated college, I moved back, and then I started. I found one of the best gyms out there, which was with the Diaz brothers.
And now I believe Colorado is where you call home base.
Yes, sir. I've been out here about 4 years.
What led to that transition from California over to Colorado? I know a lot of people, a lot of athletes have made that move.
Yeah, so mine was kind of similar on the same vein we've been talking about. It actually kind of was an injury, partially. So it was right after my pro debut. I go out there, I beat the guy. I think it was in round one or two, I forget, with an Americana. Beat the guy. I'm on a high. I'm like, all right, let's keep the ball rolling. 2 months later, I end up tearing my ACL in a training accident. I was in like a leg lock to where they had a figure four around my knee, and I ended up pushing it, but just below my kneecap. And I thought I was out enough to be able to turn out and kick.
We were interviewing Logan Paxton. Not sure where he went. My Fight Show. This is what happens when you're live. The beauty of trying to make a live show. Shout out over on YouTube, people watching, MMA guru Simon Feck. We're going to have to talk. You want to come on the show, want to be a part of the show? We're going to have to talk. It's interesting. It's an interesting idea. Think we got Logan back. Going to remove one Logan. Going to bring in the other Logan.
Hey, sorry about that. I got a phone call.
there
It
you are.
kind of just froze the screen on me. I can't.
There you are.
Can't,
It's
for
all
some reason,
good. We're
I can't hear
back.
anything. I don't know if it's on my side or.
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can't. No, can't hear anything. Let's see. What about now?
How about now?
I can't. Nope, nothing. I can't hear anything yet. I'm not sure why.
Let's try to remove Logan. We're going to try to bring him right back into the stage. And did that change anything?
Shows my mic's not muted.
Logan Paxton, we're going to see if we can get him back in. 9-fight win streak spanning over 4 years. LFA debut, second fight of his pro career, and since then been on a win streak. Let's see if we can add him back.
There we go. Sorry about that.
It's okay. So I was bringing it up. 9-fight win streak.
Yes, sir.
4 years. What has the 4 years been like, and getting on this roll, this momentum?
Yeah, no, it's been a hell of a ride, and like I said, just changing the thought, changing my mindset, being down to go up weight classes and fight anybody, anytime, short notice. These are all things I think a lot of guys shy away from, and eventually you flip that script. You're like, hey, I'm here to fight. That's my job. I'm gonna do as often as possible. I'm gonna treat it like a season. You know, just like in wrestling, we had seasons. We're competing every week, and so it's like I want to fight as much as possible. If I'm not injured, if there's nothing wrong and that's keeping me from fighting, then I'm gonna fight. So that was my mindset. And yeah, like you said, the past 4 years I've been just on a tear, fighting everybody. You know, going all over the country. I've gone to Alaska 4 times, just because they seem to have a plethora of guys that wanted to fight me. When I was having a lot of issues getting guys on the regional scene out here. I don't know if they're looking me up, more well known in the area with wrestling and stuff, but they weren't having trouble in Alaska. So I was like, hey, I want to fight as often as possible. If someone says yes, I'm gonna fight them. And so that's what it's been. Just been chasing the dream. And like you said, now we're 9 fights and 9 finishes.
At APFC 21, we have a lightweight title fight participant fall out. Was there any conversation? Was there a disappointment that you weren't a part of the conversation? Did your name come into that play?
So it didn't, in the sense that they didn't entertain it. They told me they would have, because that's what we're good, and they wouldn't give me the option. But it was they filled it, and then they told me why they didn't want to put me up there for that. Is that they wanted to give me, if I was gonna go for a title, because they are also my management. They didn't want to do it on they didn't want to do it on like a week's notice, or what, I forget what it was, a week and a half notice. And then so that was their thinking, was like, okay, you already are doing a short week notice with this opponent. Let's not jump the gun and do it again, because I'm kind of in a position to where I don't need to do anything that isn't warranted for my career. Like I'm in a good spot. I'm 10-1, 9 finishes. So it's like whatever we do next, it has to be calculated. It has to be smart. And it's like there's no, for the young guns, the guys who need something to prove, I think, it makes more sense for them to take like a risky fight or do these kind of things. But for where I'm at, I think if I'm going to take, an opponent on and for a title and all that stuff, then I probably would rather get, a more of a camp or more preparation for that specific opponent. So that's kind of was a thought train on that matchup.
You couldn't even, you probably want to think it. Everybody wants to say it. I'm going to come out there and I'm just going to roll through my opponent. But did you impress yourself with the first punch landing a knockout victory at APFC 21?
Yeah, man. It's like it's yes and no. So the funny part is, I have a great coach in Ryan Salisbury. He's my head coach out here in Colorado, and he studies film. He game plans so well, and I don't do nearly enough. I'll admit, but he kind of picks up that slack for me in the sense that he saw this guy's tendencies. He knew the kicks, the spinning kick he threw. My coach threw that at me so many times, so we knew he was going to throw that because there's certain things guys are going to do in the fight because they do in all the other fights. And then also when he backs up, he tends to kind of outstretch his hands a little bit and kind of expose his chin a little bit. So the amount of times that he held the pad right there on his chin for me to crack with my right hand was astronomical. So the repetition to kind of ingrain that in me that was going to be there gave me that confidence to find the button, to find the mark. But I will say the part that did surprise me was that how him falling. So like I get right away when I threw it, I was looking it in and I expected him to maybe hit the cage, kind of shell up. I was gonna work my underhook series, work him on the cage because that's one of my favorite positions is kind of working people on the cage and tiring them out. But then when I saw him falling right after the strike, it did surprise me. But then I knew to capitalize, jump on him, finish the fight. And it's funny because I told my coach, and I was just talking to Drew Dober yesterday. I was like, it's insane because literally I didn't even feel it. When it connects so on that jaw muscle and they move, you don't even feel it. It felt like I hit air. It didn't even feel like it didn't feel like I wound up the punch. It didn't feel like I was throwing a bunch of heat behind it. It was just fast, and the timing of it was just on point to where I literally didn't even feel a thing. And so in that sense, it surprised me.
What is the next goal, the next mission? What do you see ahead of yourself now after this one?
Yeah, I was a little disappointed. I'll say after the last fight, the great performance, everything went to the T of how I'd want it. A 33-second knockout. I wanted the microphone because I'm on Fight Pass. I wanted to get call my shot. I do know that's a little bit more for me and the fans and all that stuff. It's if the UFC's watching, which they are, they're looking for the execution. They're looking for how well did you finish the fight, and I at least did that. But what I was going to say in the interview was, what's next for me is like at 10-1 and fighting as often as I do and having proven that I'm willing to fight anyone, anywhere. I think the UFC is the only logical decision. It's kind of the caveat is I don't want to wait around. I'm still eager. I'm still hungry. And like I told you, post fight, I want to strike while the iron's hot. Right now I feel good. I took no damage. I'm ready to get back in there. And my talking with my manager, my team, they're saying maybe take a little bit of time, enjoy the holidays at least. So I'm definitely going to do that. I'm going to get fat and happy a little bit and then start working my way back down. But I'd say in the short term, I want the UFC. I know a lot of fighters are calling for it, but I think I rightfully deserve it. I think I really do think I'm leagues above these guys on the regional scene. And I think my style is what the UFC wants. They want the guy that can control the fight, that can put on the pressure, that can dominate. Even though I'm a wrestler, and I don't know if you saw in that fight, I actually I got in on a deep takedown on him, but that was almost instinctual to find those shots. But then I actually let it go, and then I bounced back off because I knew that was my time to make a statement, to give the message that hey, yes, I'm a wrestler. Yes, I can take you down, but I'm here to knock you out. I'm here to get the impressive finishes. I don't see my fights going the decision anymore because I think too many guys want to play it safe. They want to win, and that's the main thing. It's like no, like my whole thought train going into these fights is that and like not because I'm a bad guy, but I want to hurt. I want to hurt you. Like that's what we signed up for. Like I'm here to turn your lights off or make you tap. Like that's what the goal is. And I think when I start thinking it that way, it made me realize if I don't finish my opponent, then I don't think I'm necessarily winning. And so with that mentality, that's what the UFC wants. If for some reason that doesn't happen in the next few months, I do know there's another APFC card in March in Albuquerque, and because I'm definitely becoming a local favorite. I'm getting a lot of fans. I have a lot of guys messaging me saying how awesome my fight was. I think I'm growing a fan base there. That's kind of cool, and I do like it. So I think that's the place I'd want to fight if the UFC doesn't call in the next few months.
Logan Paxton on a 9-fight win streak. He's one of the names that you should know now because he's going to make an impact when he gets to the UFC.
My man, I couldn't agree with you more.
I got to thank you for taking some time out of your evening to drop by and jump on the show.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me on, and I look forward to seeing you again if we cross paths at APFC.
I'll definitely hit you up for an interview here in the future.
Sounds good, brother. Take care and happy holidays.
Happy holidays. You have a good night. Leonid Grachev, December 12th. The legacy continues to Legacy Boxing Promotions, Kiva Auditorium here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Leonid runs it back with Manuel Eastman. Chris Breezy Brown heading up to Atlantic City, December 20th. CFFC middleweight title on the line. Kyle Dawkins got the call to the UFC. He was supposed to unify those titles with Chris Brown. Maybe a defense gets Breezy to the UFC. And Logan Paxton, 9 in a row, 10-1 now, 4 years of unbeatenness. He's knocking on the door of the UFC. You can go back and watch his most recent destructions from APFC over on UFC Fight Pass. Got to appreciate all 3 of them taking time out this evening. We're still learning how to fly this plane. This is my fight show. Having a lot of fun producing it, doing it. Hoping you guys are enjoying it. Getting entertained by the whole world of combat sports, which is going to be more than busy this week. I'll be on my way out to Vegas after we do pro wrestling after hours. So look forward to that from me and Michael Carlisle on the After Hour Podcast Network and CageMinds.com as we review Summer Survivor Series War Games. Whole lot of talk about the AEW Continental Classic. Huge news on broadcasting deal for Impact Wrestling. That's all going to be up tomorrow. Friday, BKFC 85 on DAZN. Trout Palomino 2, a new bantamweight champion. Knockout artist extraordinaire Leonardo Perdomo on the card. Karate Combat, Sam Alvey Robus de Spain heavyweight title fight. BKB 49 going over to Wales. And UFC 323, the great Murad Dvalishvili and Alexandre Pantoja, both defending their titles in the T-Mobile Arena. I'll be there live. Keep up across the social media and internet spectrum with Cage Minds, CageMinds.com, CageMinds_CSN for all of the content that we're going to be delivering all week long. And you know you need a haircut before the holiday. Get on over to Barbara Gates Fades, Lobo Plaza, the northeast corner of the Coors and Central intersection here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Go online to book your appointment, your best bet to get in before the holidays, before they're all booked. Truly enjoying doing my fight show. This was episode 4. You guys have a great night.